Hello and welcome to part 11 of the Backrooms Game Lab. In this part, we're going to make it so that during gameplay, you can pause and unpause our game. This is the last part before part 12, which is the finale of the Backrooms Game Lab. But yeah, let's stop wasting time and get right into this. So what I had in mind for creating this pause menu was just to create some kind of menu on the side of the screen which shows just 3 basic buttons: a leave game button, a retry level button, as well as a resume game button. And I'm thinking for the pause menu, we're just going to have a button that you can press on the keyboard that can turn on the pause menu, and then when you press the button again, you can just go ahead and turn off the pause menu. So obviously to do this, we're going to have to create some UI. We're going to have to create a quick pause menu UI. So the first thing we're going to do is create the pause menu UI. The second thing we're going to do is go ahead and create some pause menu VFX. So basically, whenever you turn the pause menu on, I'm thinking about making it look black and white or something. And then finally, we're going to create just a quick script to toggle everything and pause the actual time of the world and do all that pretty actual basic stuff. It's just going to be, I think, one easy script with some easy lines of code. So yeah, let's go ahead and get right into this. So let's go ahead and right click inside the hierarchy, go down to create empty, and rename this to be the pause game manager. Now we're going to have to create a script for this. So let's go to the assets tab. Let's go to the scripts folder, and let's go ahead and create a new script. Let's create it and call it the C# script right up here. And let's go ahead and call this the pause game manager. And we will go ahead and make that script later, but just for now, go ahead and drag the script onto the pause game manager. So now, as you can see, when you click on this, we have the pause game manager script on the pause game manager object. So whenever we pause and unpause the game, we're going to be turning on and off one object, and that's going to be the pause object, and it's going to have the UI inside of it. So to do this, to create this object here, let's go ahead and create an empty object, and let's call this the pause object, and drag this into the pause game manager. Now what I had in mind for this was, whenever it pauses, to create some kind of filter on the screen. So to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate my post-process volume by clicking it and pressing Command or Control D. Now I'm going to call this one the pause post-process volume, and just go ahead and drag this into the pause object. So as you can see in the inspector tab, we have this volume here, and this is what is currently making this scene look really good. So if we turn up the bloom, as you can see, it looks really shiny. But we don't want to edit this one. We need a new volume. So to completely create a new volume and start from scratch, I'm going to press new right here. So just go ahead and press new. And now, as you can see, we have ourselves a new blank post-process volume. Now what I do want to do with this one though is bring the priority up to 1, which basically means this one will automatically override our normal post-process volume, since this one is on 0 and this one here is on 1. And just to show you what I mean by that, if I just create a bloom on here, you don't have to copy me with this, I'm just showing it as an example. As you can see, I have 10 bloom right now. When I turn this off, it goes back to this one. So let's keep this priority at 1. Now, the 3 effects I need you to add onto your post-processing volume here is going to be first of all, it's going to be the film grain. And if we go ahead and press all on that, I want to add in the thin 2 film grain and bring the intensity up to 1. Next, I need you to add I believe it is the chromatic aberration, and we've used that before. It just makes your screen look really crazy like that. And the final thing we're going to add in here is going to make your game look really crazy. And you might not have ever played around with this kind of setting here before, but yeah, you should use this a lot more often. It's going to change. I really just recently found out about it, but it is a post-processing setting that's been here since the beginning. So let's just go ahead and add this override here. It's just called the channel mixer, and let's go ahead and press all here. And the settings that I found look really cool is when you bring, first of all, on this red one here, bring all colors of here down to -200, so the smallest setting. For the green one, bring the first one to 120, bring green to the smallest setting here, and then bring blue to 120. And finally, for the blue one, bring all of them down to -200. And as you can see, we have this really weird effect here that really makes your game look bizarre. And if you wanted to make this look darker, all you have to do is come to the green one and change this red to be less or more. And it looks, I don't really know what is happening here, but I do know that it's changing the way that the light is coming into the scene. So yeah, really, it's a really cool setting, especially for if you wanted to make your game look creepy and dark, or whatever way exactly you want it to look. But I'm going to keep my settings around this kind of area right here. I think that this is going to be pretty helpful. And that is the last of the effect that we need to have. So when we turn on and off this pause object, as you can see so far, our game looks pretty crazy. Now, if you do not like this effect and you're not able to get to my effect that I set up here, you could just get over doing this effect by just not doing it at all and making your screen black and white. Now, to make it black and white, I'll just go ahead and show you in case there are people who cannot get to this point here where your game looks really creepy. If I just go ahead and turn off the channel mixer and the chromatic aberration, all you have to do is just add a different override on here, which is going to be, I believe it is the, I think it's the color curves. I think it's the color curves. I might be wrong. Nope. Yep, it's the color curves. So if you make sure that this one here is on saturation versus saturation, and you turn on override mode here, and you have a line right here. So if you just click this line and drag it down, it becomes black and white right here, and you can see it looks pretty creepy as well. But you can make it darker as well by just adding another post-process override on here. And all you have to do is just come to the shadows, midtones, and highlights, add all onto here as well, and just play around with some of these settings here. This is how you can make your game look kind of dark the way we did it, but without, having all the colors and stuff on it. So you can play around with these if you want to get around doing it the way we did. This honestly looks pretty creepy as well. But personally, I like to have the colors, so I'm going to turn both of these off, and instead I'm going to use the ones that we made with all these colors, with those settings there. Next, the second thing out of the three things that we have to do is just go ahead and create some UI. And this is pretty basic. So all we have to do is click on the pause object. Let's create a canvas on here. Make sure we do what we always do and come to the canvas scaler. Turn this to scale of screen size. Go to 1920 to 1080, since that's the resolution of most screens. And then as we do, click the canvas, press F, and then press 2. And as you can see, we have our canvas right here. I'm going to bring my game tab down so I can see what I'm doing at the same time as I'm editing it. Just like that. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this canvas here and turn these virtual effects off. There we go. So all I want is just a few buttons on the screen. 3 buttons. But to do that, first I'm going to create a quick UI. I'm going to create a raw image. And as you can see, we have a raw image right here. What I'm going to do with this raw image is I'm going to create it to scale the entire screen so that it makes the whole screen darker. Now to do this, I'm going to make this raw image black and have a bit of transparency. This means if I get it to scale the entire screen, it's going to make the whole thing really dark. So to do that, all I'm going to do is just click this and then click Option or Alt and click this last one at the bottom right here. And as you can see, it makes it darker. So I can move this to any color I want, but I'm going to have it just this little transparent, a little bit transparent, maybe like 90 on the alpha. And there we go. Without this, it would just look, it would still look pretty bright, but I personally like it with that little bit of darkness. I'll rename this to be the backdrop. And what I'm going to make this text say is game paused. It's rocket science. And because this is just a pause screen, I'm going to have it say game pause. All right. I have added in a font, which I'm going to be using here. If you don't know how to add in a font, there should be an eye icon which should pop up right now, or a link in the description, one of the two. It takes you to a video showing you how to add in some fonts to your game. Now, I added in a font in that tutorial, And you can do it as well if you want to. It's really easy. It's like a 4-minute tutorial. If you want a different kind of font on your text, go ahead and follow it either now or after the video. But I just added in this font right here. So next, let's go ahead and add in a button. And this button is just going to be the resume game button. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on it, drag it up. I'll make it a lot bigger, just like that. And I'll go ahead and get rid of the UI sprite from the source image in order to make it into a square or a rectangle instead of a rounded rectangle. I'll change the text on this to be the resume game text right here. I'll change the font size to be smaller, and I'll click this button right here to do what we did last episode, which basically makes the capital letters bigger and the lowercase letters into capital letters and smaller and stuff like that. I'll also again add in my font. Again, if you wanted to get a font onto it, please just go ahead and follow that font tutorial. It's pretty simple. Next, on my button, all I'm going to do is change this highlighted color to be darker so that when we highlight over it, it gets darker. And I'll change this fade duration to 0, as well as turn the navigation onto none. So that's all of my settings for the resume game button. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this twice, and I'll drag one of them down, and then I'll drag maybe a little bit lower, then I'll drag the other one down as well. So down here, just like that. Now they all say resume game right now, but I want to change the text of these. So for the second one, I'll make this one say retry level, or restart level. And for the one at the very bottom, I want this to say quit game, because usually it's really important to have a button to go back to the main menu. However, since I don't want the user to click this one, the quit game button, as much as I want them to click the other two buttons, I'm going to go ahead and make this one a little bit darker. So I'll just change the opacity or the alpha down a little bit, just like that. There we go. So last thing we gotta do here is just rename these buttons. So this is the resume button, this is the quit button, and this is going to be the restart button. And I'll move this button here into the middle, just like that. All right, the last thing that I'm gonna do, just because I just remembered that we can do this, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this game paused text right here. I'll drag it a little bit lower, and I'll name this level 0. And then I'll shrink this down a little bit. By pressing R, I'll shrink this down, and I'll drag it up, and maybe change the opacity from the vertex color down a little bit. So this is really just going to be saying what scene we're inside of. So this scene is called level 0. So if I were to pause the game inside this scene, it would say level 0. But since I just want to showcase that, for now I'm going to make this text say watermelon, just to show that when our script works, that text is going to change itself automatically to be called level 0. And if we're inside of level 1, it's going to change itself automatically to be level 1. Pretty simple. Last thing we have to do for this text is call this the level text. And I guess for this text here, we can call it the title. There we go. So this is our pause canvas, and all of the UI for this is done. Pretty straightforward. And if it's not straightforward, just go ahead and head over to our Discord server where me or a member from my team can help you out. We also did just recently upload a new system so that if you wanted to become a moderator on that server, you can. There are obviously some things that you have to fulfill first, but if you wanted to be a mod on that Discord server, there is now a way to do that. So go ahead and head over there if you want to do any of those, or just get help with your game. So the final thing that we're going to have to do here is create a script. As promised, this script is going to be very simple. It's not going to be some rocket science, but we already did create it, so we don't have to wait for it to load or anything. So let's just go ahead and click this Pause Game Manager and open up our Pause Game Manager script inside of Visual Studio. let's go ahead and delete both of these methods here since we don't need them. And we are going to have to do some scene management. So let's say using Unity Engine .scene management at the top. Now we're just going to need, I think, 4 methods here. So let's go ahead and add in the private void update method. Let's add in a public void resume game. Let's add in a public void quit game, and let's add a public void retry level, or I guess we could say restart level. And we're also going to be using we're going to be using TMP, so Text Mesh Pro at the top there. So let's also add a few references to the top here. Let's add a public UGUI, and it autocorrects it to be Text Mesh Pro UGUI up here. This is going to be the level text that we created at the end. And that's the only thing that we have to do there. Pretty simple, like I promised. So the level text inside of the update method, the level text.text is going to be equal to the scene manager dot get active scene open parenthesis close parenthesis dot name, and that's it. Next, we do want to watch for them to press a certain button to pause and unpause their game. Now to do this, I'm going to create a public key code up here, and this is going to be the pause key. And I'm going to set this for by default equal to the key code dot tab. So this is going to be the key that they press to pause/unpause the game. So inside of the update, we also want to add a bool saying is paused. Let's go ahead and come into our update method here, and let's say if input.getKeyUp pause key. We're going to say is paused equals exclamation mark is paused. And all this is going to do is if it is paused, it's going to set it to false, and if it is not paused, it's going to set it to true. Pretty simple. Now, to make this actual mechanic work, we want to say if is paused, and this is going to be the script for if it is paused. So let's go ahead and say time.timescale equals 0, which is going to pause time for us. We're also going to want to say audio listener dot pause equals true. Now what this is going to do is it's going to pause our audio listeners. So basically our camera is an audio listener. It's going to pause it. So if something was in the middle of playing, it's going to stop that from happening, and it's not going to let it keep going. So yeah, pretty simple. And that, I think that actually is going to be it. Oh yeah, no. We also do want to say cursor dot lock state equals cursor lock state dot none. And we also want to say cursor dot visible equals true. Now this stuff here is a little bit more complicated, but it's just going to free the cursor so it can move again. The last thing we want to do, if you were using our FPS controller from the 3rd episode that I gave you, we want to come up to the top here and say using standard assets dot characters dot first person, and we want to go ahead and disable the first person controller. So disable the character. And to do this, all you have to do is say find object of type first person controller open parenthesis close parenthesis dot enabled equals false. And that is everything that we need to do to pause it. Now to unpause it, if we just go ahead and press else. Now to unpause it, what we want to do is just go ahead and paste all of this into here. And change this to 1, change this to false, and nope. If you were going to do that, it would have been wrong. Because here's the thing about doing this. We have another system that wants to use this kind of functionality as well, to lock the cursor and unlock the cursor, right? Our windscreen uses this. And I think for some cutscenes, they might use this as well. And so we don't really want to do this universally inside of an update method. Instead, what we want to do is just put this inside of just a one tick, like just one fire off method, which is going to be our resume game method. We don't want it to always be forced to be unpaused at all times. So now we can paste all of this stuff into the resume game method. And now we can change timescale back to 1. Audio listener.pause equals false. Cursor.lockState equals lockState.locked. Cursor.visible equals false. And first person controllers enabled. And that is the end of the pause functionality. So this is going to resume the game. Now to quit the game, I'm just going to use scene manager .load scene main menu. I think there's no space in between that, but I should probably go check first. So if I just go to my scenes tab right here, yep, there's a space in between it, so I'm glad I checked. So if we go back to our script, I need to put a space right there in between that. And to restart, I can just copy this, but instead of loading this scene, I'm going to reload the currently loaded scene. So to do that, I'm going to say the scene manager .get active scene .name as the scene that's going to be loaded. Lastly, we do want to make sure that we add in this public game object reference to the pause canvas, which is going to be helpful. And inside of is paused, we want to say pause canvas .set active equals true. And then we also want to just go ahead and quickly add in the else method here. And this one we can universally say will happen no matter what. We want to go ahead and say pause canvas .set active equals false. I'm going to add an open curly bracket here, a closed curly bracket here, and then just press enter right here and enter right here. Just like this, because there's one more thing that we need to add in here. We want to go ahead and say if open parenthesis exclamation mark is pause. We want to go ahead and say resume game. Just like that. So when I press restart level here, I'm going to go ahead and resume the game first, because that's really important. Nextly, inside of the resume game function, I need to ensure to unpause the game. Now to do that, I'm going to say is pause equals false. And that's really important because now it unpauses the game and turns our canvas off. Finally, for the quit game, all we need to do is copy the first part of resume game right in here, just like that. We're not going to copy this part because otherwise our cursor is going to be locked inside of the main menu as well. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is our script complete. Pretty simple script. If you had any trouble with it though, please reach out to me on the Discord server and either me or a member of my team can help you out and get that mess fixed up. Now, the last thing that we need to do in this tutorial is just assign all these references. So let's head back over to our game and just assign our references, and then we will be good to go. So I'll go ahead and drag my game tag back up to the top here so it's out of the way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign my level text to the level text and drag in the pause object to where it says pause canvas. I know it doesn't make sense, but I made a mistake. So yeah, the pause object is going to be the one that turns on and off. And then at the resume button, I'm going to actually for all of these buttons. So I'm just going to click this one, shift click the last one, come to their on click method, click the plus right here. Then I'm going to drag the pause game manager over to this part right here. Now for the resume button, I'm going to come to no function and add in the resume game. For the restart button, I'm going to come to no function and add in the restart level. And for the quit button, I'm going to come and add in the quit game. And that should be everything complete. And if you don't like the pause key that it is right now, you can just come up here and click that and just change it to any key on the keyboard or the Xbox controller or literally anything that you set up here. You can set it to be anything in the world. If you want it to be the up arrow that pauses and unpauses the game, you could set it to be the up arrow that pauses and unpauses the game. So as you can see in our game here, we can go ahead and pick up our battery, shine our flashlight, and pick up our key. So when we go ahead and press the tab button right here, we get our creepy menu. We can press resume game, it resumes the game perfectly fine. We can press restart level, it it restarts the level, and we can still move around and pause the game and everything perfectly fine. And then when we quit the game, it takes us to our main menu, and we can still move our mouse around perfectly fine, load the game and everything, and just like that. However, last thing that we'll need to do in order to finish this is because right now when we go into this next level right here, level 1, as you can see here, when we press tab, nothing happens, and we're still just in this really dark backrooms. So the benefit to how we made this was that it's all inside of one object, one empty object. Now the reason why I did that was so that we can do what we did with the save game manager. We can make it into a prefab. So if we just come into our prefabs folder and drag our pause game manager into here, we can just easily now go into all of our levels and just add in the pause game manager. And that really means that we're done with this tutorial, because we're adding it all into our levels. So right now I only have one other level. You probably have multiple if you made many others in between this tutorial and the last tutorial. But if I just come back to my prefabs folder, drag in my pause game manager, and if I just go ahead and test out my level 1 real quick, which is a really creepy, completely pitch black version of level 0. So in my level right here, I can go ahead and press F, and as you can see, everything pauses. We can resume the game, we can retry the game, and as you can see, we're back in level 1. And as you can see, the level text says level 1. So cool. That is a fully functional pause menu. So congratulations on completing the pause menu, as well as episode number 11 of the Backrooms Game Lab. Now, like I said though, this is the last episode before part 12, which is, like I said on the introductory kind of trailer video, it is the last part of the Backrooms Game Lab. The last part of this, I think it's been 1 year of the Backrooms Game Lab. So what that means is I think the video is called What's Next, because I'm going to be showing you what to do next. Now that you finished your game, what are you going to do? And that's going to be showcasing, you know, should you send it to your friends? How to make money from it? I don't think, honestly, this game is one that you want to publish for money, but I'll show you what to do with your future games when you want to publish them and make real money off of your games. So yeah, that's going to be the What's Next tutorial, the finale of the Backrooms Game Lab series. That doesn't mean that my channel is going away though. I make plenty of tutorials. There's a lot of other tutorials like the anime character tutorial. And if you wanted to step up the difficulty of the Backrooms, and you still like to make the Backrooms, and you don't really want to go away from Developer Jake channel, that's all right. There is an intermediate level tutorial which was released that showcases how to create infinite procedural generation of the Backrooms, and that is a code tutorial. So in that tutorial, what you're going to learn most is going to be a lot about C#. It is kind of going to assume that you know a little bit more about it than maybe you did at the beginning of the Backrooms Game Lab. But the Backrooms Game Lab is really showing you how to make just a really well scripted Backrooms game that essentially showcases everything about the basics of, you know, how am I going to create a quick thing to showcase the Backrooms? How am I going to make a door that can open? How am I going to make everything with a jump scare and stuff, and a flashlight and a saving game and stuff, and a main menu? But essentially, the infinite tutorial is going to show you how you can make infinite Backrooms that go on forever. So if you wanted to step up the difficulty, definitely go check that one out. No pressure to at all, though. It's not like a plug or anything. It's just for if you did want to learn more about C# while also staying in the Backrooms, which, hey, I can't blame you. The Backrooms is pretty cool. So again, this has been part 11 of the Backrooms Game Lab. Next part will be part 12, the finale of the Backrooms Game Lab. I have been Developer Jake, and we will see you in the next one.